Hello, everybody. It is 4 o'clock thereabouts on KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo. 701-478-4959 is the number to call. Just want to say we are welcome. We are focused on legalizing cannabis in our state first, everywhere else next. We do not condone, promote any illegal activity. We're here to change the law, not break the law. This hour of music on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Orange Records. Orange Records offers a variety of new and used music on vinyl and CD, as well as a large selection of posters, DVDs, and much more. Orange Records is located at 641 First Avenue North in downtown Fargo and is open 7 days a week. Search Orange Records Fargo on Facebook for updates and new arrivals. We're going to play a little Bob Dylan here, who they say stayed in the Gardner when it was a hotel back in the day, and I like to think that, he stayed in my apartment. To serve somebody. We're back. It is now a little further after 4, and I thought we would talk about what's going on in the state of North Dakota in regards to the measure that's circulating. It's called North Dakota for Freedom of Cannabis Act. It's a constitutional measure, and we'll discuss later the difference between a constitutional measure and what is the measure again? Statutory. I keep forgetting that. So it's a constitutional measure, not a statutory measure, and we'll talk about the difference later. ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, 21 plus to possess, up to 12 plants to grow, private consumption, also to possess and consume, licensed businesses only, and that's pretty much the 5 straight bullet points, and that's the measure. It's simple, it's clean, and it pretty much encompasses everything that a person would want in a nicely drafted measure, which coincidentally, we'll talk about nicely drafted measures later on. We're going to go ahead and cover some addresses on the web tweet interwebs. All right, so here we go. North Dakota Cannabis Caucus Fargo, that's in Facebook. Emails cannabiscaucusfargo@gmail.com. Facebook also is North Dakota Cannabis Caucus, just straight up. YouTube, Canna-Talk ND, and we'll do an editing of this show, and then we put it on YouTube directly after. So YouTube, you want to subscribe to that, Canna-Talk ND. Instagram, hashtag Cannabis Caucus Fargo, and hashtag ND lower score cannabis.
Underscore.
Got it. Let me do it again. Hashtag ND underscore cannabis underscore caucus. Website is ndforfreedom.org. And that about covers it. And then Committee for Compassionate Care is Leslie's webpage or Facebook thing, and it's neat because she says how many people have a license each day. So it's kind of cool to kind of watch that go up. And then Lisa, you got anything else?
Well, the places you can sign ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act in Fargo are as followed: Tochi Products, Addictions, Smokey's House of Pipes, Mellow Mood, 46 and 2 Tattoo, and Orange Records. Please stop in and sign ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act.
Yeah, that's awesome that they got them sitting there. There's no money involved. They just believe in it, and it's nice to have people that are kind of open-minded and kind of helping us, because we kind of just looking for favors, to be honest, and we're just kind of blazing the trail as we see it. And so we're going to take a little break here. We're going to play a couple tunes. And then when we come back, we should have a call-in guest. And again, if you follow ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act at all, you're going to want to check it out, because I think, maybe we'll all learn something probably. And at the very least, we'll, kill 10 minutes for a worthwhile cause. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we'll see you on the other side of it. And we are back, and we got somebody on the phone, which is exciting. I'm going to play the intro to our thing, and then let's see here. Here we go. Let's do it. started here early because if we aren't going to leave our guest waiting. Caller, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, that's awesome. So anyway, here's the deal. So during Measure 3, I believe like right around the time where they got all the signatures and I realized that it was actually going to be something they were going to vote on, I remember kind of right around that time kind of deciding to come out of the pot closet, as it were, and kind of just let everybody know that I believed in it. And I believe Lisa, who's also here that you spoke with, that she also believed that too. And so we got kind of into the whole thing. And I remember being downtown Fargo with the Measure 3 store and selling those big signs. And those big Measure 3 signs, I mean, we had to go to Minneapolis, like a special trip just to get them. And I remember seeing this guy here standing in front of one of the big boys running for like, you know, Stingem's gig.
Running for Attorney General of North Dakota, right?
That's right.
Heck yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, David Thompson. But yeah, so I'm like, oh, man, this guy he's got kind of balls, I felt like. Because, I mean, it was still kind of early, I thought, for somebody to just take a stand like that and go, well, vote for me. And I obviously believe in, cannabis being legalized. So I thought that was really cool. And so I'm asking you now, not to mention that Lisa and I are both sponsors of the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, which then we realize you stinking drafted.
Yes, I drafted it.
So it's like, well, this guy's definitely in our corner, and we need to get him on the phone and talk to him a little more, because I'm kind of curious, why do you think cannabis should be legalized?
Well, first of all, I think that, number one, if you look at why I think you turn the question around, and why are people opposing it? Why do people oppose it? And who has an interest in continuing to make cannabis possession on a personal level illegal? During the campaign, and it didn't get a lot of press, but I did research in a press release in which I highlighted the disproportionate number of arrests every year in North Dakota for marijuana possession. In fact, it's like 4,200 marijuana-related arrests versus 700. These are, I think, 2017 statistics. 700 some odd for methamphetamine.
Exactly.
So what it all comes down to is money. Law enforcement gets a lot of money. Grant money, federal money, appropriation money,
right,
based on arrest statistics.
Exactly.
And if you suddenly made marijuana legal in possession legal in North Dakota,
well, you would lose their budget. You'd lose the budget.
Would be losing a lot of their appropriated money. Frankly, also though, I think it's with all of the focus necessarily on marijuana enforcement. You're not devoting those resources to the interdiction of really harmful drugs, such as meth, such as heroin, and such as other drugs like that.
Right. It was like easy prey too. I feel like you're almost preying on the easy, because like the meth guy's hiding in the guy's garage, getting ready to like hide up in the rafters. You got to call people, and it's a little scary. You apprehend a guy who might have cannabis, and he's just kind of scared he was pulled over.
Right.
And so then
true.
you bank that money. Meanwhile, you got a guy who's on his 5th day up without sleep, plotting to take something from somebody.
Absolutely. That type of that drug is I think for me the scariest one is meth. And I was surprised that they didn't even have 1,000 meth arrests in North Dakota, but they had over 4,000 marijuana related arrests in that 1 year. So something's wrong. I think that you have the entire nation of Canada where cannabis possession is now legalized, coast to coast in all provinces,
right,
as a matter of federal law. So, there hasn't a fissure hasn't erupted or shown up across the border. So, I mean, I go up to Canada a lot. Nothing is. There's no problem with public order up there. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Like we're at the mall, every Friday from noon to 7, and we get Canadians that'll roll through there, and and so I pick the brain too, and it's like, well, they just seem like normal people, the information I give back is sane and lucid, You know, and I tell them, well, man, back in the day, I used to not want to go to Canada as a kid because jeans were so expensive, you know, but now it's like, well, maybe Canada isn't so bad, you know, and that's kind of the mentality. Like, you're not going to argue with me. You're going to argue with Canada now. You know, like if you tell me, well, cannabis is horrible. It's a gateway drug and it's ruining society. Well, why did Canada legalize it then? You know, why is Illinois on deck?
You mentioned the gateway drug thing, and in fact, the scientific literature shows that marijuana is not the gateway drug.
Yep.
The gateway drug, you know what it is?
What's
alcohol.
That? Yep.
Alcohol. Legal.
And trauma.
And trauma. Yeah. See, there's like a lot of variables, you know, a lot of abuse and traumatic scenarios has a person looking for something, you know.
But that's right in the scientific literature, and people can say this or that isn't proven, but there's a pretty good body of peer-reviewed scientific and medical journal articles that talk about the fact that alcohol is the real gateway drug, not marijuana.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I definitely agree with that. And now, so we were wondering if you could answer a question, right? What's the difference between a constitutional measure and a statutory measure?
Right. Well, first of all, generically, a constitutional measure is, if you can think about it as it is part of the enduring principled law of the state. Just like the federal Constitution is, it sets forth rights, essentially.
Okay.
And statutory law is enacted by a legislature. It sits down and passes a law.
Got it.
A legislature can change laws from one session to the next, and so forth. Statutes, legislation, is much more temporary, potentially, and non-permanent. Constitutional law, something in the Constitution, sets forth rights. And I've heard some criticism from some people saying, well, you know, the right to possess cannabis should not be, it's so detailed that the proposed statute, that it shouldn't be in the Constitution. Well, right before it is Marcy's Law, which is Section 24 of Article 1 of the North Dakota Constitution. If enacted, this act would be Section 26. That would be 25. That was 25. I'm sorry. So it's you know, certainly in our history, we have had individual rights codified and incorporated into our Constitution as voted upon and enacted by our population, so by our voters. So you know, that's a matter of fact. And this particular measure was drawn from several. Some bills that were introduced in Minnesota, and some from some other states, and it was carefully crafted, and I think it's a decent piece of work.
Great. I wanted to ask.
Good for the voters to vote on.
Sorry, it's Lisa. I wanted to ask you, as far as the difference between statutory and constitutional measure, if a constitutional measure to possess, grow, and consume cannabis, like ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, passes, then you will have constitutional protection. But if that didn't pass...
The legislature can't do what it did with medical marijuana.
Right. And then also, if it was only a statutory measure, is it true that there would be parts of the states that could elect not to allow you to have those rights?
Well, that's not true, but if it were passed as an initiated statutory measure and not a constitutional measure,
that's
not an amendment,
right.
Not an amendment to the Constitution.
Right. I'm just
initiated statute.
Right.
Initiated measure statute.
So,
it could be actually amended or even repealed by the legislature at the next session by a 66 and 2/3 margin. So by a super majority. That's really what happened in the medical marijuana situation. The voters approved medical marijuana by a 64% margin, favorable margin.
Right.
And what ended up happening was the legislature sat down. My opponent in the last election, Republican Attorney General Wayne Stenstrom, who had published an op-ed piece that was entitled medical marijuana is bad medicine, and he published it all over the state. He's always been opposed to medical marijuana. Anyway, he led the charge with the legislature after the initiated measure had passed by 64%, with 64% in favor. And the legislature actually, by a two-thirds margin, repealed the entire initiated statutory measure and then enacted another chapter, an entirely new statute.
That's ridiculous.
Statutory package of statutes. I think there are over 100 different sections in there. And at the time I was running for Attorney General last year, medical marijuana was still not available in North Dakota, and in fact, it's an illusion for the most part. Even now, I would respectfully submit.
Yeah, I would believe you're right.
So a statute can be actually not just eviscerated and changed, but completely repealed
by
the legislature sitting at the next regular session.
So with the Constitution,
they needed two-thirds majority, but they got that last time.
So being a constitutional measure, then they will not be able to do that, right?
Correct.
We will have constitutional protection. They will not be able to mess with the measure, prevent it from going through, and people who live in every part of the state will be afforded those rights that are in the measure.
That is correct.
Okay. I'm glad.
Because I know even now,
I think that if that's why I think the constitutional measure is the way to go.
Me too.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
If people say, well, this shouldn't be in the Constitution. Well, Marcy's Law is in the Constitution. There are other things that are in the Constitution. This will be Section 26 of Article 1. Article 1 is the part of the North Dakota's Constitution that deals with individual rights. And this should be there.
I like that. Personal freedom.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have been more pleased when I seen because we're sitting around waiting, we're going to get to see the measure. And when we seen it, man, well, this is beautiful. It was beautiful in its simplicity. And people argued, well, is it better written than the last one? And I tell people, well, nobody was going to listen to us the first time, no matter what that measure said. Up till that point, cannabis was still kind of hoodoo.
40% of the vote.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So that got us what I believe political viability for this next one. We got the traction now. Now we go in with more of a mindset. People are kind of listening to us more, I believe, and they weren't before. So to lose by, I think we won. To be honest, Cass County got 52% of the vote.
Very strong showing, and statewide, and if you look at it, I believe the final numbers were significantly over 40%. I don't remember what the final numbers were.
Yeah, I would almost say 48 or 49, but, I'm biased and I don't remember. But you're right.
It wasn't 51.
Well, no, I'm thinking 48, I thought, that we lost, and then they had 60 or whatever that is. 50. Yeah, I'm not good at math. I'm just good at talking.
No, but it would have been... it was in the 40s. I think we can say that.
Yeah, and that's the thing people forget now. Cass County, we voted it in again. Like I said, 52%. And when you look at the population broke down, Cass County's pretty stinking big. So when you look at that swath of yeses, it's to me, it's impressive.
That's true.
And so when
I got over 44% in Cass, so that was pretty good against the guy who had been there for 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I voted for you, by the way.
I appreciate it.
And I don't even think I voted for really anything up until this point. Like I said, I was pretty non-political, just kind of lazy in the ideal that it didn't matter, And I remember Measure 3 getting on the bandwagon all the way around, just kind of learning more. And I thought, well, since I'm in here voting, I might as well vote for the thing that I, like I said, a guy who stand next to the Measure 3 sign for me had to get a vote.
Well, it turned out to be a good picture, and I was happy to wear that picture in my campaign. So.
Well, anyway, let me segue quick, and here we can let you go. Apparently, you used to do some sort of segment called Ask a Lawyer. Am I wrong in assuming that?
I was on WDAY back in the early '90s, late '80s, early '90s for probably a year or two.
Well,
and I came over once a week, and they would have a topic, and people would call in, and they'd have legal questions, and I would provide answers to the best of my ability. So.
Well, you want to do that again, you think, and then just answer we'll just
I don't mind doing that,
because we keep it more more cannabis related. I don't know how exactly, but not more hey, listen, I'm not paying my child support. How do I get out of that? Less
I'm happy to answer any questions, and if I don't know the answer, obviously I'll say that, and then I'll look it up.
All right, well, cool. Well, man, David Thompson, thanks for calling in.
Thank
do
you.
Do you have anything else you want to share with the people before we go?
Really, hey, I appreciate your putting me on today, and look forward to coming on again.
All right, that's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, David Thompson, we'll see you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, Bonnie Raitt doing a little In Excess cover. And the first part of that was called Larkin Poe. They're sisters. They're kind of new blues. And quite frankly, the paint got like burnt down here a little bit. And then Bonnie Raitt, of course, she's like an old warrior of the steel. And this hour of programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Meats by John and Wayne, your shop with a full line of fresh beef, seafood, poultry, and pork and smoked meats, as well as meat seasonings, sauces, and rubs. Located at 1801 45th Street, South Fargo, Meats by John and Wayne can also be found on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and online at meatsbyjohnandwayne.com. That's Meats by John and Wayne. We will meet all your meat needs. Well, man, we're screaming up to a close of another, would be my third show being allowed to talk out to the masses. I'm just going to run through this thing being circulated right now as a constitutional measure. It's called ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act. 21 to possess, although you can be 18 to sign the petition, so there's some confusion there. Up to 12 plants you can grow, private consumption and possession, licensed businesses only. And then you can reach us at ND Cannabis Caucus Fargo on Facebook. Email cannabiscaucusfargo@gmail.com. Facebook also, North Dakota Cannabis Caucus, and ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act is also the Facebook page. And it looks like we're going to be trying to be streaming through there. So that's going to be exciting, and that's upcoming. YouTube, Canna-Talk ND. These get edited and popped on there as soon as possible. Instagram, hashtag Cannabis Caucus Fargo, and hashtag ND_cannabis_caucus. And the website is ndforfreedom.org. And we'll be meeting over at Tochi Products directly after this. It's our weekly meeting, 5 to 6:30. Come on over and see us. I'm going to have the after show glow, so, you can slap me down a little bit. And then, Lisa, you got anything you want to share?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me get you turned on. Okay, do it now.
Yeah. Also at Tochi, we will have packets. If you'd like to pick up a packet and collect signatures on your own, we'll give you the materials and the information you need for that. And if you'd like to sign ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, please stop at the following Fargo locations: Tochi Products, Addictions, Smokey's House of Pipes, Mellow Mood, 46 and 2 Tattoo, and Orange Records.
That's right. So I don't know. I feel like that's 8, but I'm not good at math. And they're all like north. A couple are south, mostly downtown Fargo. And if there's towns around us that is also doing it, feel free to let us know, and we will shout that out as well. So here's the next two songs. It's kind of like a thing that's happening now. So my kids in South Dakota, like creating, working out, impressioning young minds in the education department. And she's like probably not even supposed to be listening to this, so she isn't. But here's a couple songs that she wants to hear. So here we go. All right, that was Susan's House by the Eels, Tiger Bomb by the Presidents of the United States of America. And I'm about out this thing. You guys have been great. Everybody been great. I'll see you here next Thursday. It's Thanksgiving. I'll have a guest in. He's an old buddy. He's been living in L.A. He's back here. So we're going to talk about the California dispensaries and whatever I come up with. And we'll be over at Tochi Products now from 5 until 6:30, and then we'll be at the mall tomorrow from noon to 7, and that's the last one until through the holiday break, and then we'll be back sometime in January. All right, guys, I am out of here.
They offer many smoking cessation options for all smokers looking to quit. Northland Vapor also offers a variety of CBD products ranging from capsules, tinctures, e-liquids, candies, gummies, flour, as well as CBD coffees and teas. Northland Vapor Company has 3 locations in Moorhead, South Fargo, and Bemidji, or you can visit them at www.northlandvapor.com. Northland Vapor Company is quality, not costly. Radio Free Fargo.